Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the Chump Block episode 5. I am Boix here with my buddy and co-host,
Archie Owen.
and we're here to bring you some content during your downtime here in the dreaded wasteland that is Magic Online, not being on Twitch. When you're looking at your followers on the left, you're like, no one's online. We're here for you. So, today we have a couple things we want to go over. First, there is a Modern Pro Tour coming up next week. Or I guess it'll be at the end of this week when you're watching this. And we wanted to go over a deck tech of a somewhat roguish deck that's been around for a while called Bogles, which Archie knows very well.
I'm a terrible human being and play it constantly.
He's a human being who has played the deck. That's good enough for me. Next on the agenda, we wanted to go ahead and talk about the Sunday Super Series, which happened over the last week. It was a high-profile tournament that had taken place over at Wizards HQ, and we wanted to go over that. We also have Grand Prix Vancouver, which just happened, and we'll go over the results of Grand Prix Vancouver. So thank you, everybody, for hanging out and watching the Chump Block. Hello, everyone, and welcome back to our modern deck tech, where we're going to go ahead and go over Bogles. Archie Owen is putting pants on his Bogles, and you won't believe what'll happen next.
Well, you know what happens with Rancor? It just keeps coming back.
That's right, Archie, and we're going to go over our top 7 auras for Modern, and that might surprise you.
You see, Derek, which Umbra is right for you? Are you a snake, a hyena, or a spider?
We'll find out soon, but really, I want to know, are you hex-proof or not? Find out now on this next section.
Oh, you'll love our exclusive interview with the Core Spirit Dancer. She says, why can't I have hexproof as well?
Well, we're about to take our free Doomblade test soon, so maybe she'll find out. Did you know that this slippery little 1/1 is a little too weird for words?
I may do, Derek, but we've got some real saucy gossip here. About the stacking life game. There's a real affair between Daybreak Coronet and Spirit Link. It's too lewd for words.
That's right, Archie. So let's go ahead and jump into our Bogles deck tech. So what did you think was the reason that you wanted to go over Bogles today, Mr. Sir?
Honestly, I love the deck. I love playing with it. I like the way it operates. It really fits my style of play because it has a really unique angle of attack, which is essentially just blanking your opponent's removal. Your opponent's removal generally doesn't do much against you. It's very aggressive, it's hard to disrupt, and also I'm a terrible human being. Like, that's just true.
That's right, Archie.
That is right, Archie. But real advantages are you get fast kills, which does lead to you actually spending less energy over a tournament. Like, playing a control deck takes a lot of energy and time, so you do tend to be less tired getting to later rounds of a tournament, which I think helps. The look of despair in your opponent's eyes also helps keep your energy up. And Mana Tithe, you get to play Mana Tithe, which I love. I mean, before Splinter Twin was banned, there was no better feeling than Mana Tithing a Splinter Twin when your opponent had the Spellskite out and thought they were utterly safe. Oh, beautiful. Brings tears to my eyes. But yeah, that's why I really like playing the deck. It's hard to disrupt, aggressive, and people just aren't prepared for it very much.
Well, that's all fine and dandy, but how does this deck work?
It's pretty simple when it comes down to it. You have either a Slippery Boggle or a Glakeover Scout, which is both are 1/1 hexproof creatures for a green mana, essentially, in this deck. And you put auras on it. So one mana auras usually, things like the Umbras from Zendikar block, which give them ability called Totem Armor, which lets them basically regenerate, but not actually regenerate, which is great because they live through Wrath of God. Things like Ethereal Armor, which you might remember from Random Flicker, Rancor, which is great because it's both evasion and also a recursive threat if they do manage to kill your guys. And the real selling point is the card Daybreak Coronet, which is just absurd. For two white mana, you get +3/+3, lifelink, vigilance, and you also have and First Strike. Can't forget the First Strike. and you have the simple task of just having to have another aura on your Boggle to start with, which is you do need to sometimes play around them having a removal spell for your other aura because it will fall off if they remove it. But that's really it. If you have a hand with land, Boggle, Umbra, you generally keep it because that'll generally get you there a lot of the time.
So Archie, why do you think that this deck is going to be good for the current modern metagame then?
Couple of reasons. Splinter Twin being banned was one of your. It was not a great matchup. It wasn't bad, but it was not great. Amulet Bloom also going away was, not a good matchup for many decks, so that's not too bad. But the main reason is with Splinter Twin going away, Jund and Junk become less attractive, which means there's less Lilianas running around. Liliana was the big problem card for you because edict effects, so things that make you sacrifice your creatures, were generally very good against you because you're trying to build one big man rather than going particularly wide. It's the reason you play Dryad Arbor in the deck, so you can fetch it in response to a Liliana activation and sacrifice that rather than your big man.
So how much does this deck cost?
It's reasonably cheap, actually. There is basically one very expensive card in the deck, which is Horizon Canopy. It's not really much you can do about that. My personal opinion on it is you can swap it out for Brushland, which is essentially the same card, and you will not lose very much equity, I think. So it'll cost you roughly, I would say, 200-ish tickets on Magic Online, and about a reason, about maybe $300-400 in paper, depending on how you go about getting it, what you use as your mana base.
All right, Archie, we need to make sure we're being very clear. We're not advocating stealing cards for this deck, but
no. No.
It depends on how much you go about it, but it could be 400. Wink, wink, nudge, nudge.
Okay. What I'm talking about is if you depending on what fetch lands you use. If you use if you have to use Verdant Catacombs, that'll be significantly more expensive than if you use Wooded Foothills, just because Wooded Foothills is in standard right now, and obviously Windswept Heath is a must because it's a green-white deck.
Okay, just so we're clear, that's all I'm saying.
Yeah, some of your individual some of your individual land choices will make the deck a lot more expensive, and there are some sideboard cards that can be expensive depending on your metagame. Most of the main deck isn't too bad, basically. Like most modern decks, it's the mana base that's expensive.
So what do you think are your worst matchups?
Living End. Not a good matchup. Instant speed, sacrifice your board. A lot of your bad matchups are the decks that are also doing very unfair things. Infect's about a turn faster than you, which is the big problem at the moment. And I personally, at the moment, have quite a dedicated sideboard package for Infect. You do have 4 Path to Exile on the main, 3 to 4 depending on your build, which does help, certainly. But so I'd say your 2 probably worst matchups are Living End and Infect. Any deck doing really unfair things is hard to beat, but you do always have the option of just making a 5-power guy on turn 2 attacking, making a 10-power guy on turn 3 attacking, and then that can just kill some decks because they take 5 damage from their mana base just generally. It's not unreasonable.
Is that the only bad matchup?
There are some, so I would say Ad Nauseam is probably not a great matchup because they have lots of ways to stop themselves dying. So you can generally kill them about 3 times before you actually kill them with Phyrexian Unlife, Angel's Grace, etc. And that can give them enough time to combo off. But any fair deck is a good matchup, pretty much. So Scapeshift is too slow. Tron is okay. I'd say it's about 50-50, depending whether they find Ugin. Ugin is the breaker for them in the matchup because there's nothing you can do about it. Khan you can beat. That's not a problem. Ulamog you can beat. It's really Ugin Thrum in that matchup. Yeah, I'm if I look at kind of the most played decks in Modern, Affinity is an okay matchup. Burn's great. You crush Burn. It's hilarious because you have so much lifelink. John's and Junk are okay-ish. Infect's not great. Like Abzan Company, a matchup's fine. Any deck trying to do fair things, you're perfectly okay against. And it's decks who are trying to do the unfair things that you have trouble against.
Well, great. Thank you for the info on this wonderful deck and this deck tech. We'll go ahead and move on from here. But Modern Pro Tour coming up very soon, so we'll be going over that on a future Chump block.
So weekend before last was the Super Sunday series over at Wizards of the Coast in Seattle. It was a tournament for people who've won a Super Sunday series, which is an event that happens on day 2 of a Grand Prix for people who scrubbed out, basically. I mean, look, it's true, right? You scrub out day 1, you go for the Super Sunday series.
You're not wrong.
Yeah,
it's the. It's like the runner-up prize or the participation award sort of. I mean, it's still a big tournament, but
yeah, like it's like usually at least 200 people. Like you've got to win a big tournament to win this thing. And your prize is you get a flight to Seattle and a chance to play for $6,000 first prize money, essentially, and a tour of Wizards and some swag and some cool stuff. I believe a display of Oath boosters, which I think is about crate-ish, something like that. I'm not 100% sure what that actually means, but some amount of Oath product you will get. And yeah, so it was won at the weekend by Sam Black, of noted deck building skill,
of noted very respectable, awesome core of the Magic community, Sam Black.
Correct. Other notable names there: Reed Duke, Jarvis Yu, both there. And it was Standard and Oath Draft, which is kind of cool. It was, I think, Oath Draft, then Standard, then the top 8 was
also a draft.
Was also a draft, I believe.
Yes.
So there's some new format draft, which is cool. Probably favoured, I think, people like Sam Black and Reed Duke, who are probably testing that already with their teams for the Pro Tour. But new Standard was I think was very interesting because there are some new decks with some of the cool new cards in it, and also some old decks with some pretty spicy upgrades. And some people also just turned up with basically old lists, not really knowing what to do with the new cards, and just thought, well, if this was good last time, it's probably good now.
So, for instance, right here is Reed Duke with his Rally list. It turns out that this is the Tournament of Rally, probably the Standard of Rally, actually, if you want to update that header there. But he was just sort of playing an old list, plus one Oath card, technically new.
He played basically the list he won the GP with. Like,
when in doubt, in an unknown format, play a deck you're good with. And if you don't have to relearn it, it makes sense.
Yeah.
So...
But you then look at Sam Black's version of Rally, which includes a lot of new cards and some really spicy ones.
Yeah.
So Reflector Mage is the big new jazz in Rally, and it's good. It's really good. All these cards that are meant to beat you, Kalitas and Offenza, just go away, and they stay gone away for a whole turn, which lets you go off. Like, you just rally, you can even rally on their turn. Like you can even rally on your turn, or you can Coco on your turn if you need to do it into a Reflector Mage, and they can't just recast it. That's the disgusting thing.
So I'm looking at Sam's list here, and there's Ailey Eternal Pilgrim, the new legendary core cleric, which I'm sure many a single EDH fan has enjoyed as having a black-white cleric for their commander deck now.
Ooh,
but
baby.
So Ailey in Sam's list is what, Nantuko Husk 5 through 7, I assume?
Basically, yeah. I mean, it's some life gain as well, which is relevant. Like It's also a 2/3 death touch. Like
Yeah.
a lot of cards just sit and look at that and go, I don't really want to attack into that. It lives through Kozilek's return, which is I think a big testing point for this format. It lives through Flame Tendrils again, certainly a big testing point for Rally. Living through Flame Tendrils, and yeah, it's just really, really efficient, and it does require you to have black and white on turn 2, which can be a bit awkward. But I mean, we're in the format of 4-color decks. The mana's pretty good. It's not great, but it's okay. You also play 4 Jace, which helps.
I think so. There's a reason Jace is a $67 card, which I want to point out. $67 Mythics is not a thing that has happened in Magic for quite a while. Probably since, the Cobblade days, or at least this consistently over time of a format. So
we're also
go ahead.
We're also at the point where there's a deck with like 20 Mythics in it or something similar. Like Eldrazi Ramp has Kozilek, Ugin, Ulamog, Chandra, World Breaker, Kozilek's Return.
Yeah.
All of which are mythic. Some of them are playing Oblivion, so are also mythic.
Like the distribution of card power level currently in Standard between rare and mythic is kind of way lopsided towards the mythic, which is a little weird, I think.
Well, you've got a deck playing a bunch of uncommons and a deck playing a bunch of mythics.
So there are some decks that are cheaper for sure, but
well, I mean, Rally's a bunch of uncommons and a couple of rares, right?
Yeah, I mean, Jace is a couple of those rares, though.
Oh, that's
you have to point out.
Yeah,
Jace is literally the most expensive card in Standard.
Yeah, I try to forget about Jace.
So another Jace deck would be Jarvis Hughes. Rally Killer, I assume, is the only name, because it's this is a 4-color. It looks similar to Jeskai Black decks in the past, but now we have some sweet cards in Goblin Dark Dwellers, which we were talking about weeks ago.
It's sweet.
So, what does this card do? How does this card beat Rally? What are you changing in this deck that you're including this to make it better against that deck?
Well, it's not so much the Dark Dwellers. I mean, they're just good value. It's I think Kalita's main deck is hilarious.
So they're only playing one Kalita's main deck, one sideboard.
Yeah, but you also have just a lot of ways to grind them out. Like rally games can turn out to be quite grindy, and if you can strip them of resources, it certainly helps. I think, anyway. It's got Duress main deck as well, which helps. You've got Read the Bones, which you can flashback off Goblin Dark Dwellers. It's not quite as good as Painful Truth, but getting the flashback is important. You have ways to kill their creatures. 4 Crackling Doom really helps against big Nantuko Husk attacks, because you can't really defend against that. You've got more hate in the sub. We've got Flame Tendrils, Hallowed Moonlight, Negates, Infinite Obliterations, another Duress, Disdainful Spirit. I'm looking at the board of this deck, and I think there are about 3 cards you couldn't justify boarding in this matchup, which is Mastery. You can even probably justify boarding in the Mastery of the Unseen.
Yeah.
Like I wouldn't board in the Arishing Clerics. That's about it. Like all the rest of those cards are defensible to bring in.
So that was the standard portion, though, of the Sunday Super Series. Unfortunately, we have absolutely no video footage of this beyond a 2-minute wrap-up video that Wizards of the Coast has put out. However, there was a little thing that happened at that event known as guerrilla coverage by AJ Sacher and Reuben Bresler. And we have an interview ready for you right now. Hi, and welcome back. We are here with 2 guests to talk to you about a very special event that had happened at the Super Sunday Series. I am here with AJ Sacher.
Hello.
And Reuben Bresler.
Hey, what's going on?
So, what you guys did basically is you had last minute decided to go to the Super Sunday Series because, as we were just talking about, there wasn't really any live coverage going on for this event. They were planning on just sort of doing an article, maybe like a 2-minute video. So if you guys wouldn't mind, sort of how did this come about?
Well, you say that we decided, but really it was decided for us. Um, I was making some flippant comments on Twitter about the lack of coverage at about 1 in the morning, maybe midnight.
Yeah.
And yeah, people were pretty upset to see that. And one of my flippant comments was about doing coverage myself. And it turns out that that was an idea people could actually rally behind, and so they did.
Yeah, and I was one of the people that rallied behind it. I'd seen the conversation take place where people were like, "Huh, I wonder why Reed Duke is in Seattle. I wonder why Jarvis Yu is in Seattle. I wonder why Sam Black is in Seattle. This is all weird. Why are there's a big giant Magic tournament that's invite only happening this weekend, and no one knew about it. Because there was no coverage. There was very few tweets happening about it up to that point, and I was bored sitting at a poker table, joining in the Twitter conversation. And when AJ's tweet about like, "Hey, I would just do coverage," and that got responses from, people like Craig Westco responded. Sam Black was actually in the Twitter conversation a little bit. Lots of folks responded. And I suggested, hey, maybe AJ and I should try to figure out how to do last second coverage of this event. And so, as fast as our little thumbs could take us, we tweeted a lot and Facebook messaged a lot and ended up garnering enough support and funds to fly us to Seattle at no cost to me or AJ. And also had live streaming equipment loaned to us by a guy named Chris Cohen, right?
Yep.
In Seattle. And, we were driven around by one of my Twitter followers on Saturday morning. We had the backing of a lot of the community in this effort. And it was pretty cool that it all just sort of came together nicely for us.
Yeah, it sounds like it was just sort of really ad-libbed last minute, and that's awesome that there's so much support that came together for the event for you guys.
As we mentioned in the video that we did the wrap-up video of, last minute gets thrown around quite a bit.
I mean, so last minute, I mean more like 12 hours would be like last minute?
Not even, yeah.
Not even?
This was
Okay.
5 hours.
Yeah,
5 hours?
about a 6 hour turnaround from, hey, maybe this is an idea, to us going to the airport.
Yeah, which is insane.
Yeah, it's outrageous.
Especially considering that this was at 1 in the morning Pacific, which is 4 a.m. Eastern. So we had to put this together.
By the time people were waking up, it already had to be decided whether we were going or not.
Yeah.
But it turns out that there are just enough people on Vampire Time to get the ball rolling, and roll it did.
Yeah, absolutely.
Turns out being a little bit of a night owl might actually have paid off. I agree.
Yeah,
in this case, absolutely, yeah.
In this very one specific instance, yes, it was the right call. But it was a really interesting thing because normally something like the Sunday Super Series would be just like a community cup type event that Wizards would want to do coverage of, but they weren't for some reason. And then the reason that I was invested as my spiky little self was, A, I had a couple of friends there and I wanted to know how they were doing, and B, the Oath of the Gatewatch pre-release was like the week before.
Right.
And normally there's a little bit of punch pulling almost with new sets, because the pre-release precedes the Pro Tour by a couple weeks, and everybody's kind of playing it close to the chest for that. But this particular instance, not only do we have Pro Tour caliber players there, many of them, but also the Pro Tour is modern, not standard.
Right.
And there are 3 limited GPs this weekend, the weekend between the Sunday Super Series and the Pro Tour. So there's no tech that can be given away for the Pro Tour. So everybody was just going to go full out for this awesome, intimate tournament at Wizards headquarters. It should be, the stars aligning to be this awesome event that the coverage would be really popular, and instead there was just no coverage.
Yeah, I mean, it's a multinational event. There's the first time we ever saw Oath Standard, first time we ever really got any coverage, or should have anyway, of Oath Limited play, specifically draft. So, I mean, that's very important information for the Magic community. And it's definitely weird that was not being advertised. So you guys showed up at Wizard's door.
We sure did.
You sure did. So what were your experiences once you got to the event? How did it all kind of go down?
Well, I do want to start by saying that we were not 100% in the dark. We were about 90% in the dark.
Yeah.
But we did have the lightest of go-aheads from Helene Bergeau on Twitter to the effect of, we don't have coverage, we don't have a setup, we don't have equipment and stuff, but you're welcome to come.
You're welcome in the door.
Okay.
Right. So, when we were discussing this, I was...
Come in the door.
Right. Well, when we were discussing this, I was on board as long as we got exactly that. And we got exactly that. So I was willing to go. But I don't know. There definitely seemed to be this perception that we didn't even have that. And we really showed up completely unannounced, which I think would have been a lot worse for everybody involved and sends a very different message than sort of being quasi-invited.
Sure. I agree with that.
So we got to Wizards and we show up with 2 tubs of equipment and our bags still basically straight from the airport. We'd driven around to pick some stuff up. But then we arrive at Wizards and we've got all this equipment, and the first thing we do is we sit down in a conference room with Helene Bergeau, Director of Organized Play for Wizards of the Coast, Alan Hockman, who was a representative from Pastimes Games, who was the TO, and Mike Rosenberg, who was basically in charge of the event from a media side. Because there was some coverage. They were making a lot of videos to be released later in the week, but nothing live or slightly tape delayed. Nothing quite as immediate as what we wanted to have.
And not really having to do anything with the Magic, it seemed.
Right. There was no deck tech. There was no limited discussion. There was a lot of characters, interviews with Sam Black and stuff like that. But not a ton of content in terms of this new set that had just come out in a brand new format where a bunch of these players from around the world were going to let it all hang out right up the first week, because the next weekend was 3 limited GPs and the next Pro Tour was Modern. So we were able to actually report on brand new Standard and brand new Limited with no holds barred. So we sit down and we have a quick chat with Helene and Mike and Alan, and they were like, there are 2 things that you can't do. One is live stream, either on something like Twitch or Periscope or anything like that, for a number of legal reasons that were explained to us that are good reasons that we completely are fine with. And the second thing that we can't do is take video of matches inside the building. And so we agreed to both of those terms, and then they were like, if you have any other questions, just ask Mike. Whenever we had a question, we asked Mike, and Mike, I think every single time said, yeah, that's fine. Even including just uploading videos 10 minutes after we recorded them. So we had very immediate updates as things were going on. And yeah, so while we didn't get to do 100% of what we came there to do, we did get to do probably 80% of what we came there to do. Make some cool videos, interview some cool people, get some interesting information on a brand new set in Limited and in Constructed. And, and we got the Sunday Super Series a little bit of, grassroots advertising in the process, I think.
Yeah, definitely. You got some good interviews. You got Jarvis Yu, you got Reed Duke, Neil Oliver.
The winner, Sam Black.
Yeah,
Yep.
Sam Black, definitely important. Ton of awesome interviews, which are all on YouTube on AJ's channel, the AJ Sacher. So
Correct.
if you want to watch those, make sure you do that. You guys should probably make a playlist of those or something, make it a little easier to find.
Already done.
Already?
There you go.
Damn, I'm way behind the times.
Yeah, I put it together 3 days ago. again, we were so scrambled that we were just making what we could and throwing it up immediately.
Yeah.
So it took me, getting back and having some time to actually get my thoughts together and organize the videos a little bit. And we also shot a wrap-up video where we thanked everybody that made it possible and sort of explained just where we were coming from and where we're going from here.
Yeah.
So if you're curious about this, then go ahead and check that out.
Definitely, 100%. So both of you are past SCG Live, not really broadcaster, I guess, but hosts and personalities on the SCG Live circuit. That type of experience definitely was important for making a presence in these types of videos and gaining that type of support. But do you think that there's any sort of a future in sort of a more community-funded grassroots type of coverage like this in the future?
Absolutely. I think that, if anything, our trip proved that the Magic community craves coverage. And the fact that AJ and I have experience, thanks to our time with Star City Games and SCG Live, makes us, halfway decent figureheads for such a movement. And so we were happy to ride the wave. We were not the only people we obviously had the time, but other people had other resources that they devoted, money and broadcasting equipment and rides and support online and all that kind of good stuff. So I think that if anything, this trip proves that, there's certainly more room at the table. And I think that a grassroots coverage outfit might be something we'd be interested in. We're still so close to the event happening that we haven't really put all those kind of ducks in a row. But I'm sure as the months go on, we'll talk more about it.
Awesome. That was pretty much all the questions I had. So one other last thing. Did you guys ever think of a team name when you were traveling, anything like that?
We had a couple of things thrown our way through social media, some names and some taglines. My favorite thing that we got was "Don't let your streams be dreams."
Yeah. That was fabulous.
That's really good.
And then there was Oath Watch. What was it?
Oath of the Streamwatch.
Oath of the Streamwatch was
People
good.
tagged us with hashtag Oath of the Streamwatch a couple times, and so I took that as the unofficial name for the weekend. But no, we don't have a team name for if AJ and I become a regular commentary team. You have any suggestions? What do you think?
Oh man, I have no idea. Ruby Sacher? Right. This is bad.
Ruby Sacher? Yeah.
It's kind of like Ruby's slippers. I don't know.
We'll work on it. If you got any more ideas, ship it to us later.
Awesome. Well, thank you for being on the Chump Block. Great to get some insights. I would love to see some more commentary myself. I thought this was really fun to go watch through because I was super interested in the event as well.
Excellent.
Yeah, thank you for being here.
Absolutely.
Thanks for having us. Yeah.
So there was a trifecta of limited GPs last weekend in Nagoya, Mexico City, and Vancouver. Nagoya was won by Tomonori Hirami, I believe. Forgive me for my pronunciation. Mexico City was won by Britain's own Fabrizio Anteri, which,
God save the Queen.
God save the Queen. From our Italian. Vancouver was won by Adam Jansen after an epic punt by Jeremy Desani. And if you want to see more about that, I would recommend going watching the latest AJTV, as it goes pretty in detail into that game, and I think is probably a far better resource than here to figure that out.
That is also on youtube.com/theajsoccer. But what is really interesting about Vancouver, because it's just a limited Grand Prix, so we don't really have deck lists to go over. There's not really any strategy to talk about. If you look at the top 8 or top, XO decks from day one, they're all either completely absurd or the player's just ridiculously good. So what I want to talk about, this is the first big tournament where the 6-3 rule has been implemented Well, not really the first, but it showcases, I think, very well the changes that have happened to the tournament scene due to that rule.
Yeah.
I'm actually just straight up wrong on the first. But the point being, right here we have a tweet from Chris Mascioli detailing some of that information. He's stating that of 249 players that had 6-3'd into day 2, only 6 of that 243 actually cashed at the event, and 64 got at least 1 pro point. Also, of the 37 that 6-2-1, so they drew a match, only 5 cashed and 10 got a pro point. So we're talking about almost 300 players, and only 11 actually made any money. I want to point out literally the lowest amount they can make, so like $50 or whatever it is.
Yeah.
And then somewhere around 74 people got a pro point, which is basically useless because it'll just be hovering there as like a dead point that isn't going to affect anything.
Yeah, although, I mean, if anybody who's actually chasing pro points, it's a big deal for them, I guess. I mean, I personally, I think it's not so much cashing or, you know, even getting pro points. It's honestly value for money out of your event. Like, if the last 2 GPs I went to, Liverpool I made day 2, London I did not. I was 6-3 at London, so would have got in on the new rule, and I felt like got a lot more value out of day 2ing, like because, you know, you got to pay for side events if you want to go to the day 2 if you don't make it, and I just felt like I got a lot better experience by day 2ing. So I think personally giving more people that opportunity is a great thing. And if you happen to pick up a pro point, great.
I mean, I disagree. So my problem with it is specifically the fact that you feel like you're obligated to go to day 2 at 6-3. You're not going to top 8 with a 6-3 record after day 1. It's just not going to happen. So, like, you could conceivably 6-0, but then you still have to deal with tiebreakers.
Yeah, but remember, at this point, if you have a top 8 record, you get the Pro Tour invite anyway.
Yeah, but like, so you're going to day 2 on the off chance you 6-0 and then spike the tiebreaks somehow.
Yeah,
like,
why
really?
not?
So,
why not?
And the feeling of going to day 2 and then like winning, let's say, your first 3 matches and dying in round 4 because you only have that 1 strike is absolutely miserable. Like, why were you there? You're literally playing for nothing at that point.
I mean, I don't know. I like playing in high quality. Well, if you're in day 2 of GP, you're at least half decent at Magic. At least I'd like to think so. I like playing in that sort of environment. And it's just good practice, to be honest. Like, you might get a chance to play against some very good players, and you can only learn from that, I think, anyway.
So what about the TO or the judges that have to run the events? Because so the day 2 main event used to be about, I don't know, maybe 250, 300 people. It's doubled because of all the 6-3s that get in now. So they still have to run all the side events. They still have to do sometimes the Sunday Super Series, sometimes, you know, whatever other big event they're doing. But now they're also dealing with another 300 people in the main event for no real good reason. Some of those people might have left the day before, you know, if they did in day 2, but they feel like they're obligated to go to day 2 because of 6-3. So there's just a bigger mess at the tournament scene for the judges to deal with.
I mean, they dealt with day 1. I will happily admit having zero experience of what it means to be a judge and how busy and how hectic these things can get. So I honestly can't give you an answer because I just don't know.
I mean, my understanding is that they're not really hiring more judges for Sunday, but the judges, so it's sort of like the same pool of people they're having for the entire event, but now they have much more work to do on that day and a way less proportional amount of people to cover it, basically.
That
so it seems like a pretty big problem, at least.
Yeah, that doesn't sound ideal.
But yeah, the 6-3 rule, I'm sure we'll get some people complaining about it, and if you follow any sort of social media. But very differing opinions on it at the very least.
Yeah. I mean, as I said, I like I like getting to day 2. I feel I get good value for money from it, and I like the content. Certainly limited GPs, like getting to draft, like that's just 2 free drafts.
Yeah.
Like straight up.
If you want to look at it that way. Most people aren't looking at, like, I get 2 drafts worth of cards. They're looking at it as, I'm going here because I want to top 8 the tournament.
No, I'm looking at it as I get 2 drafts with people who managed to get to day 2 of a sealed GP.
Nah, that's. I guess if that's your viewpoint, that's different. But then why are you at the Grand Prix if you're not there to win?
I am there to win, but if if I've still got half a hand.
So here's a hypothetical. Before we wrap this up, let's say you 6-3 and day 2, and there's a Sunday Super Series on the same day on day 2. What do you do?
Yeah.
You have a chance at literally winning the Super Sunday Series, or lowballing at like $50 on the Grand Prix.
Play the Grand Prix.
You feel like you're obligated to do it?
No, I feel like I'd want to do it.
Interesting. That's weird. I wouldn't have that viewpoint.
Shockingly, people have different opinions.
Wow, the internet is wrong. Someone is wrong on the internet. I'm gonna have to complain about this. We're gonna be here for the next hour, kids. Sorry.
Yeah.
So anyway, that's it for the Chump block tonight / morning. Thank you everybody for watching. I'm gonna go ahead and try to get a crack-a-pack up here. Cards.
For value.
See if you can let us know what you think would be the correct pick on this pack of Oath of the Gatewatch.
I know what I pick.
You don't even know what the pack is, Archie.
Yeah, I do. I got it right here.
Wow, he's lying. So that is it. Thank you everybody for watching, and we'll see you on the next episode of the Chump Block.